bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? Ayy, 12 can't really stop shit, so I'm still pushing like a mosh pit. Ice dripping, think I'm hot shit. In the yellow bucket with the mop stick. I've been jugging jams like wholesale. Everything must go sell. Hitting bitches with the oh well. Need 100 million on the low scale. On my worst night, I'm the best nigga. Wouldn't mess with you, couldn't cap to him. Homie spotted me like 700, brought 1100 right back to him. If I can't do it, then it ain't real. I just make dollars, I don't make deals. I've been going hard in the paint, still blowing kush clouds till I can't feel like. Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like. 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like. 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? Got 5 on it.
Ladies, gentlemen, and everyone in that wonderful technicolor rainbow in between, welcome to tonight's coverage of the Titan Esports Vanquisher League. I'm What's Rudy, and joining me tonight, as per usual, my friend here for the entirety of the Vanquisher season, it's Sader. How you doing tonight, Sader?
I'm doing very good. I'm really high spirits after watching some games last night in the Divinity League. I'm hoping to see some drafting that involves a Skarner. Even if it's banned, I'll be happy, but I still think that champion is busted. But Birdie, we have OMG and HOB today. Strong teams, some very strong players, probably some of the best players in it, some very, very high ranked, maybe top 5, 1 or 2 of them, maybe. But how do you feel about just looking at these two teams? How far they've gone into it? How well are they doing? It feels like it should be a closer one than we think.
Oh, yeah, this is a battle at the top of the table. This is Omega Gaming Goobers, who are currently, I believe, undefeated still in this Group B, versus Half-Orc Barbarians, who have only lost, I think, a single series over the course of their whole time. They are playing incredibly well for both teams. I believe my camera just frozen. I'll figure that out in a second.
Yeah, you got
there we
it,
go.
Don't worry, we're back.
Both of these teams are playing incredibly well throughout the season. I think this is one of the most anticipated matchups that we've had coming past like week 2, maybe week 3, once we realize like, okay, there's not exactly a tier list, but there's teams that are at the top of the table and teams that are at the bottom of the table. And these are two top of the table teams who we want to see. This is potentially a semifinals finals matchup coming into like playoffs. So this will be a good preview for what we're going to be seeing for the end of the season.
I would agree with you if playoffs weren't a big mixture, because playoffs right now, it could go very, very different with especially
It could.
Kuma is very, very strong Group A, and with TMGD doing very, very well on the other side of that. Both of those, I believe, are undefeated series-wise, but not game-wise. They have dropped games. And then we have Elysian, not Elysium, before anyone starts screaming at me, aka if Romeo's here, he'll start DMing me immediately. He's like, did you say Elysium? No, Elysian. And they are, I think, 4-0 as well currently. So they're very strong going through with 2 teams on the 3-1 bracket in Group B. So both those groups are very strong, but heavy lead, undefeated, hasn't dropped a single game, is OMG, which is very reminiscent of Worlds a couple of years ago with the OMG from back then. But we also have HOB. They've dropped 4 games, 1 series, and then Seal are just behind them, tied with GG's. From the last time I checked. So it is. They've definitely taken a commanding lead. A couple of hurdles in some bad drafts, but they managed to always make it work with some great solo individual play. And then the Half-Orc Barbarians, which if we have a couple of D&D players, anyone that plays Barbarian, you know that the more they lose, the stronger they get. It's all about that rage, and maybe this will be the rage-induced win that they need.
The more you take hits, the harder you hit. And I think you also brought it up. It's undefeated in both series and game score for OMG. So even if HOB takes off a single game in this series, I think we can call it a success for them at the very least, because this is a team that is very good. OMG is a team that I think, even if HOB doesn't end up making it to playoffs, some crazy shenanigans happen where it gets mixed up. They end up dropping like first round of playoffs. We're expecting OMG to make a deep run, even with the strength of Group B and Group A. This is one of, like, I would say top 3, top 5 teams that we have in our current bracket.
Yeah, it's definitely some standout players as well, so I'm going to have to keep an eye on those in the future. But I think one thing I really want to look at is the strength of Group C. Now, there's a lot of new teams coming in for myself. I remember some of the old ones like TPS, FS, Akuma, Elysian, Rubber Ducky, one of the newer teams. But in Group C, I know Dorado, Oversoul, I know Tuxedo, ID, and I know Summit, Half-Orc, and Omega. I know these teams. And Group C, just from my view, from being a slight veteran now, I'd say boomer of the scene at this stage. But I know most of these teams, and it's a very stacked group. So although we do have the likes of Oversoul that are 1 and 3, there's nothing stopping them from making a charge and making this group competitive again and running that way up the brackets. So although OMG are off on a really good run, if a god can bleed now, the other teams will pick up on that. They'll see what that draft was and go, hey, look, we found something. Let's see if we can force that consistently. Is it team fights? Is it poke? Is it maybe just going pure split push, take Shens?
Yeah, something in the draft, something in the macro or the micro that we can take advantage of. And I think this is a matchup that other teams, when their own games are over and when they've got their own time, they're going to come back and watch this. Not only just, for the excellence of the cast and production on this side of the broadcast, but also, for the actual gameplay and seeing what these teams can really do. Because if HOB ends up making an upset, maybe the other top teams in the other groups will think, oh, hey, this is a team that could maybe make a deeper run. We might have to be a little bit more concerned about this team. Or if OMG does win, but they, end up losing a game, you can start poking around at their weaknesses, saying, hey, what did HOB do in this game that ended up giving them that win?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing also that, like, I'm just looking at these names and I'm trying to think of all the jokes I can make throughout this, because we got Drew Barrymore and LL Cool J immediately. Yeah. We have a Panda versus a Toad in the support kind of section here. There's some
everybody knows supports are a little
jokes right there, just sitting there waiting. Source Walker,
supports are animals.
Yeah, like there's a lot going on here that we can definitely, like Joust. That's another animal if you want to go down the Jaws theme song, Jaws T. Like
we've also got a Raven up in topside, a Rover, Red
Raven,
Rover.
Or Raven.
Very important.
Titles matter.
Titles and pronouns do matter. You're absolutely right. Rover, Red Rover, send someone over.
Can I be the first one to be knighted by Titan?
I don't know if Titan has the power to do that, but I think if anybody could, it could be you.
But you know what? You can get a lordship.
I feel like Sebs actually kind of owes it to you for what's been happening behind the scenes. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
100%. Yeah, maybe. Bring me back just to knight me. We also got to talk a little bit about the fact that my heritage is Scottish and Irish, and I could get a lordship very, very easily. But other than that, we're going to be jumping into drafting in a few minutes. And coming from the Divinity, the cover. Okay, we're going to go straight into draft as producers screamed at me that we're going in. But thank you for that one. I'll remember. So I'm still getting that. Like, I don't come to work to get screamed at, okay?
We mess with our producers far too much and we deserve the getting yelled at. But we are here jumping into the draft for game number 1. You saw it flashed at the bottom of your screen. Future games in this series will have those fearless bans, but for now, we are just in game 1, so no extra champions banned. It's just going to be these first 5. Already, support's taken off the board, Senna and Lulu. I, for one, am happy to see a Lulu ban because that champion is so inflated. There are harsher words I could use, but I'm going to be nice. That champion is inflated.
I feel like I need to grab the mic and explain something to everyone, but I'm going to refrain from the actual aggression here and explain. The most broken ability in League of Legends is not Syndra's R with maximum.
I know exactly what it is.
It's not Yone with his massive ult that can hit everyone, or a Mumu's. It is Polymorph.
It's Polymorph.
Is absolutely busted. You get turned into a squirrel and you can do nothing. You are
point and click CC for I think it's upwards of 3 seconds still. It's one of the last few point and click CC abilities remaining in the game. We do have a lot of other bans to talk about though. Cho'Gath, Set, Master Yi, and Vayne, a few top lane bans, some bottom lane bans here and there. Importantly, you mentioned it at the top of the day, Skarner is unbanned and is potentially unpicked here as Urgot is going to be the first grab for OMG.
Go Kindred here. If you see an Urgot, just go Kindred. It is the most fun you will ever have against an Urgot because they mauled when you drop that ult. And they try to pull you in and you just live. You just stare at them. You can't kill me in here. Lamb's Respite is broken, but they are going to opt into the Monkey King. Son Goku will be making an appearance.
It's a similar idea. You block the ulti with the clone. If he eats the clone, and it's just, hey, you get 25 gold. Good for you. Yeah, it does take a bit of a skill. We do also have Hui, another champion that I would say requires a decent bit of skill to pilot at that highest level. So a blind pick here for HOB. OMG are going to counterpick that jungle. They've got the Sejuani. Sejuani plus Urgot, a fairly strong combo. It's not the melee that we usually like to see paired up with Sej, but she's a really great tank right now, and it definitely can be piloted. I'm just, again, a little shocked to see the lack of Skarner here again.
Yeah, maybe teams have just tried to shift away from it, knowing that Skarner should be getting some heavy nerfs. We see this a lot in competitive as well, where teams will kind of early try to stay away from certain picks because they know changes will be coming, because they don't want to play so heavily into that, and then the next week where it is disabled or it is weakened, they're like, oh, we don't have that flexible pick. We need to practice other things on stage. Now, obviously, we're not at LAN because I am in Ireland. So
A little bit
not gonna happen.
difficult.
Yeah, so we're not on LAN, but stage games still matter. I know everyone's sitting at home going, oh, but it's like a scrim. You're just playing at home. It's like, no, because it matters. You need to win these ones.
You're playing in front of an audience, and not only are you playing in front of the audience, the score of the game does matter. OMG is not only playing for retaining that top seed in the bracket, but also staying undefeated series and game score. They're playing for a bit of pride here, as we're going to get the next set of bans coming through. Nautilus and Trundle banned away. The Trundle ban is a little surprising to me, given that we're seeing what I assumed was the top side of HOB. Maybe they see something that we don't. Maybe it's Hui support? I'm confused. Just say it or help me out here.
Okay, right. Let's break this one down. It could be some weird, what they were thinking, maybe they've seen Mordekaiser Wukong bot lane and decided maybe let's not give them Trundle as well. I think the best way to put it is they were looking for something else, maybe a Taric on that T side, and they accidentally went for the Trundle.
I mean, possibly. The Nocturne tells me that it's probably going to be Hui support with either Nocturne Jungle Wukong top. It looks like OMG actually did end up picking an order, as that's a Blitzcrank, so it's, what, Hui bottom lane and Nocturne in mid? This is a spicy draft from HOB game number 1. They are playing true Barbarian, go face mode.
Wait, is it Wukong top, Nocturne jungle, Mordekaiser mid?
I think it might be Nocturne mid, Wukong jungle, Mordekaiser top. No, it's the Mordekaiser in the bottom lane with the Wukong top lane. Okay.
Revnon. Kind of makes sense.
Spicy game 1. Yeah, okay.
Revnon, Mordekaiser, ADC. They're actually missing ranged AD damage now, and into an Aphelios that's known for, hey, I'm gonna press R and these blue kind of ignited orbs are going to shred your entire team if you're grouped. Also adding in that there's a clone available, so that's 6 possible targets in a circle.
Yeah.
That might be, and then on top of that you have Renata versus so much melee. There's a lot of melee there. Like, it could be.
This is a good Renata game, at the very least. Blitzcrank in the isolated 2v2 in that bottom lane, it will be a little bit difficult, but Renata is great versus the Wukong, versus the Nocturne, even versus the Mordekaiser to a certain extent. The big thing for me is just how does this Mordekaiser actually get into this game? I saw in the Twitch chat, I'm keeping my eye on it, there was a lot of talk about Revnon revolutionizing bottom lane and picking some spicy picks. So I thought we were going to get something a little off meta. Mordekaiser was a bit far out from what I was expecting, but again, I like the idea of the composition. I like being able to pull out these picks that are like, hey, you're not practiced against this pick at all. You don't know how to play it against Mordekaiser bottom lane. What are you going to do about it? But actually being able to pull it off and execute it in a game is a very different thing than just drafting it and having it look very cool.
Yeah, there's a very, very high chance here that Revnon could be a GOAT, but there's also a very high chance Aphelios and Renata are from Greece and they eat GOAT. So
yeah,
it could go either way right now. I am slightly more optimistic looking towards that top side though, because you did say, yes, you can clone away the Urgot to stop the ult and stuff like that. But I think Urgot is probably the strongest Urgot's been, apart from that time Bjergsen played it in Worlds.
Oh, don't remind me.
No one even remembers who Bjergsen is at this stage in time. But
I got to see him play live. It was a lot of fun.
I got to actually work alongside them at a Riot event because I was observing for LCS.
Very cool.
It was NA LCS. Very long time ago. But
NA and EU LCS, the good old days.
All-Star was in Europe. I got to see Bjergsen as well. I actually talked to him a few times. And I accidentally chanted TSM at Santorin at Worlds when he got fired after that match.
Ooh.
He was gone from TSM and no one knew. But other than that, upside for Urgot. I think he's in a very good position right now. I don't think Wukong is as strong a top laner as he is a jungler. I think jungle is perfectly suited for Wukong at the moment. Moving him towards the top side here in this game, although the flex pick might work in terms of the draft, I think in terms of the game sense, I still think Urgot's going to come out winning on that one, especially with a Sejuani when you can so easily proc that passive.
Yeah, I do think the Sejuani is going to have a little bit of her work cut out for her as she's working with, I believe it's 4 ranged characters, as I don't think Urgot gets to proc that passive with his auto attacks. I think he's ranged enough that it doesn't count. I don't think so, because I don't think his range increases over time.
Maybe that used to be the old bug then with the shotgun knees that got disabled.
Yeah, I don't think Urgot can proc the Sejuani passive, so she is on her own for the stuns, which is going to be very rough for her. This is something I don't like to see with a lot of Sejuani comps. When they locked in the Urgot plus the Sejuani, I was assuming they wanted some kind of melee mid laner, but then they lock into Talia, and Talia Sejuani on its own is good. But again, you're kind of leaving the Sejuani out to dry. She's going to be practically alone in the front line. Urgot will be trying to help, but he's more damaged than he is tank, and she doesn't have a lot of people to help her proc that passive. It's going to be a rough game, I think, for Source Walker.
Okay, it was a bug that was on certain chromas.
Yeah, you know what? It's spaghetti enough that I believe that.
Yeah. So we don't worry about that one. So yeah, let's have a quick size up of the mid lanes. We didn't talk about this one too much. We talked about the skill kind of ceiling when it comes to Hui. That's very, very high. There's a lot you can do with that champion at high levels, but I think the skill floor for Hui is quite low. You need a lot of corridors. You need close-knit fights for the Hui to really unlock full potential, as you want that scorched art to kind of, I guess it's more like a bad rumble ult, but you need that, and it needs to be hitting multiple people for you to fully activate your passive and get those second hits. So there's a lot that is required of the Hui in this one. On the other side, Talia, you kind of just throw rocks.
Okay, nice little grab there from Panda. We do see the level 2 for the HOB bottom lane. I was expecting a little bit more aggression on the early game since Aphelios, while he's got good poke level 1, that's kind of really all he has. He can auto from afar. But they're just playing kind of a passive game, which versus Aphelios Renata, this is a scaling lane. If you let them scale, that Aphelios is going to be scary in the late game.
Yeah, it does really start to peak after one item. Aphelios is very, very strong when that collector is completed. I do think there's a lot of tanks on this side, though, with Mordekaiser, Blitz, and Wukong with the Bruiser-ish, but all that extra massive stone
you could go
skin.
Yuntal into LDR with an Infinity Edge. It's a nice handshake from Panda. Is going to get a stun, but there's the hook from Toad. Panda now the one in trouble. Rev not getting the autos off, but doesn't have that passive shield, so it's going to eat a lot of damage in return. Gets dipped just under half HP, and OMG's bottom lane continues to just have control.
Yeah, so as we were going back to the collector thing, I think you're dead right there. The Yuntal might be the better option there. Maybe even just rushing straight into an IE and just trying to get as much crit early to maybe force a Randuin's out. I think Randuin's is in a very good position right now, but we do see some information going over jungle to jungle here. So Sejuani will try and make the quick escape towards bottom Scuttle Crab as Divine. Exact same idea, is just gonna try a nice little darkness trail there and try to get there first.
Yep, just pressure for now for all the laners. Another nice hook. Panda now under the turret, ignites down. Panda forced to flash away, still held onto that exhaust. I do want to call out good use of summoner spells here from Panda. Not burning the flash on that early exchange, not early throwing the exhaust, just keeping it calm and steady here. And versus a scary Blitzcrank Mordekaiser lane, that takes guts.
Yeah, being very aggressive. On the side, the Ignite also being used in trade for a flash. You can never really complain with that one. I'm interested that Mordekaiser didn't take TP. I really expected a TP to come out from this one.
Yeah, the exhaust is surprising.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because you're going to kind of rush Rylai's anyway. So are you playing it just for the lack of damage to try and suppress some of the damage, or is it for the slow into a slow to try and set up your slow? It just feels like way too many tools to try and get activated on a Rylai's, but we'll see how it goes. Like, it could go very well, it could go very badly. I'm sure we'll have a breakdown of it after between ourselves, especially when the mics are off for y'all.
Oh yeah,
everybody do like to speak afterwards in unsavory tones towards certain things, as all casters do.
Yeah, if you ever hear a caster talking like, "Oh, I'm not really sure how I feel about this draft. I'm not fully with it." They probably very strongly dislike the draft, but they're trying to be nice on broadcast.
Where's the Skarner?
Yeah, I think we do both have to question where the Skarner is. I think you were right that in the future, almost assuredly, it's going to be eating some heavy nerfs. It's not on this patch though, and we don't have the highlights for next patch, so still well within their rights to pick it if they want to, but it'll be available for games 2 and potentially a game 3 later on in the series. So they have that option, but so far just a very slow early game. No one really wanting to pull the trigger outside of those bottom lanes. And I think for OMG, they're actually pretty happy to play a longer game. You've got Talia scaling very well, Urgot who wants to hit at least a couple items before he becomes a really big threat, Aphelios who, like you said, if he's not going for that collector first item spike, really wants to hit the late game with that LDR and IE. So I think OMG is happy to just let this game go long.
Yeah, let this game go long. See if they can get this a grub start for free here. Absolutely no contest on the bot side. Looks like Sourcewalker is walking down towards it, but I am a little bit worried that they're not going to try and force straight into a Drake fast enough. And Nocturne might be able to contest the Drake, get themselves set up for 2 of the 3 objectives straight off the bat. Quick recall, looks like they're going to go straight for possibly boots if they haven't got boots on secondary. No, they're going to go straight into a Ruby Crystal, so maybe boots are on secondary, but they're going to be able to contest this Drake very easily here, right?
Yeah, it is also an early Tiamat for Divine, so plenty of clear. And with Aphelios recalling, I don't even think there's an attempted Drake start here for OMG. I think it might be end up being a mistake, as Poke's gonna land. Drew Barrymore, the one in trouble. Level 6 is not available for either of the bottom lanes, but Sourcewalker has his. Reveron forced to bump out. He's gonna get knocked out. It's first blood to the white gun from the Aphelios, but Divine should be able to pick up the recourse. Sourcewalker gets the kill though, so a reset for Drew Barrymore. Able to live for a little longer. The purple gun stunned. Doesn't manage to get away from that Dusk Trail, so Divine will pick up 1 in return. But now Cool Jace is here. Has that Severing Bolt. Snipes out Panda. Sourcewalker now wants to find Divine with no health, no mana. Jost is here looking for that last hit. A nice little seismic shove back. They're gonna give it over, and it's Speed of Warfare over to OMG. Cool Jace trying to just kite it out, trying to pick up that last kill on Sourcewalker, but just can't make it happen. A messy exchange, but OMG come out barely ahead.
Yeah, and after all that, it just returns to the mid laners farming once again. It was so smooth afterwards that I was like, all the fighting stopped, and they're both like, oh, we're just gonna farm again, cool. But yeah, that reset coming through for the Aphelios, thanks to the fight or die from Renata, was the biggest thing we noticed there. That was as clutch as you can get, and it was very unlucky in the end for Drew Barrymore to fall to Nocturne's Darkness. Right on the tail end of it as well, if they'd got a little bit more distance, that could have been nearly a clean wipe for them. But very nice snipe coming through from LL Cool Jace on the other side to pick up the second. And yeah, the Mordekaiser does now have the Haunting, guys. We're getting closer to them actually being strong, but it looks like you're in a bad position here as Drew Barrymore's also there, and so is the Sejuani.
Toad hits the hook. They want to find the damage onto Panda. Revnon is going to pull him into the death route and just bonk him down. Obliteration with the mace. And now potentially Aphelios is the one in trouble. He'll end up trading it back 1 for 1 thanks to that red and white. Sourcewalker now forced on the run. Hook not available for Toad just yet. Turns around to try and find it, but just doesn't have the angle. So Sourcewalker will walk out, but it's 2 for 1 in favor of HOB. They even up the kill scores. Now in top lane, Flash is traded Rover. He gets away from Sir Raven. Not able to trade too heavily into that Wukong yet, but what was a slow game is now accelerating very quickly.
Yeah, it feels like everyone feels like they're behind now and they just want to fight it out, but HOB will actually take the Drake as well off of this one. So although they lost Warfare, they're only 1 objective away from completing the... Oh, actually, hold on a second. If they get this one... Oh, we actually have a Pro... Oh my god, HOB are leading this one. How did ProComps put Mordekaiser ahead of Aphelios?
I wonder if ProComps... I don't actually know how ProComps rates their score. I wonder if they're looking at the Mordekaiser like, well, we don't know how to grade this matchup, so it's probably favorable, because who has practiced against Mordekaiser bottom lane? Who's got that scrim knowledge?
Also, just having a Wukong is crazy. Also, the fact that the blue bar is bigger than the red one, or is that my eyes?
No, it definitely looks a little bigger. I'm going to assume that's just a visual bug, and that's fine. But yeah, OMG trailing in terms of the draft score. And I think a lot of that is, again, I'm going to keep harping on this. Sejuani in a team with no melees to activate her passive. Or not her passive, her E-passive, sorry. It's going to be really rough for her to actually get these multi-stuns in fights. It's not like where you see Sejuani Yone, where they're just constantly proccing the CC on the enemy team. It's going to be a lot more difficult for her.
Oh, there is an ult for End Divine here, so this could be a big setup here if they get the hook, and they do set up.
Yeah, they want to find it on to Rover. Send someone over, but no one's here to help. The team has arrived, though. Rover will manage to survive, and Divine is the one in trouble. Severing Bolt is going to find Rover, though. You can't recall in place versus LL Cool Jace on the Aphelios. It ends up being a 1 for 1 at the end of the fight.
A 1-for-1 and grubs for this one is going to be really good for them. This is going to be a nice, easy setup for them. A good trade back. Is Toe? There's no way Toe's going to be able to hook one of these, right?
No, surely not. It's just going to
Okay,
be all three
okay.
grubs over to OMG, denying that feat away from HOB, getting their first set of objectives on their own. So we really are just looking for that first tower, I think, is really going to be the decider for who's going to pick up that first set of feats for this series.
Yeah, the first set of feats. It's a close one, though. Like, the grub's advantage when you have the likes of a Urgot, and if they can get onto that tower, there could be a lot, as we do have a... on the live, we do have a kill in the top side, as Sir Raven has taken out the Thalia, and as we have replayed this fight, we have to watch LL Cool J just go, you can't really recall there, buddy. That's an easy one. Quick and easy pickup. And Divine just going too deep, too hard, and too many people appearing from that river. Bad vision control around there. As on the live, we also have another fight happening in the bot side as we go back, and Rover now in a lot of trouble in the death realm. Revnon.
Go bonk. Revnon is just going to clean that one up really easy. And the Mordekaiser bottom lane picking up a few kills to his name. Not feeling too bad about the spot he's in, even in CS as well, which I feel is the most shocking thing about this matchup.
Yeah, so we had a solo kill in the top side for Sir Raven onto the Thalia, onto Jaws. And then Revnon manages to get the pick as well onto Rover. So two really good pickups nearly for free. For the side of HOB, they may have lost the grubs, but they're working their lanes now a little bit better. The rotations there from OMG, like Urgot down to the bot side in a 2 versus 1. Doesn't have a completed item, not where you want to be. Thalia in the top side against the Wukong, you might be able to stop dashes, but it's still a Wukong. Like, you have to remember this. It's still one of the strongest champions in the current meta. So, yeah, it just feels like some bad macro decisions there in their lane assignments.
Yeah, and a good punish from HOB. I just want to say, I feel like both of these junglers would be happier if they were on the other team. If Sejuani was on this HOB composition, you have 3 melees activating that passive, it would be so great. But for OMG, hang on. A nice sidestep from Drew Barrymore away from the flash. A hostile takeover is going to be burned on Revnon and Toad. Divine still getting to the backline, but this redemption is going to put in a lot of work. Plus the red ulti, Drew Barrymore trying to survive. Gets the reset and gets the flash away. Revnon can't pick up the kill in time. Toad is too low health to help out. LL Cool J is on the way. A nice 2-man pull from Revnon, but it can't do enough. A double kill over to Source Walker. He'll be able to, won't be able to walk out. He'll die on his own. And now Cool J's stuck in the 1v3. He's going to be forced to just try and kite himself away. Lands the ulti onto Jost. Gets the movement speed for himself. Will be able to kite it out, but a beautifully played bottom lane fight from OMG.
Yeah, getting away with absolutely minuscule health on both sides and then rejoining the fight. Toad, Drew Barrymore, minuscule health, steps back. One bonk would have finished off 2 of them there, but they managed to stay perfect distance, get their health back, stay healthy, and finish off Revnon. And in the top side, we're going to see a trade back here. As an ult used from the Wukong, and that's a 2-level advantage.
Yeah, that is a 2-level lead. This Wukong is he's a little ahead. He's got his full Triforce completed, and Rover's just trying to finish up that Black Cleaver. And until that Black Cleaver's finished, I don't think Rover has a chance of trading back versus this Wukong.
No, and we're also going to see an invade onto the red here. There's nearly 4 camps available for Nocturne, and still choosing to be this aggressive in their jungling. It's going to be a Drake setup for sure, but they're also pulling down Sir Raven. Yeah, they really want to complete this feat of war. They want to be able to pick this one up. And with 5 members there should be no contest. Sejuani is topside. They're going to opt into going for a tower, though. As we do see the pings going down, Sejuani wants to get up towards that top side. Will they burn Hui's or Wukong's TP to protect that?
Yeah, someone has to go up and stop this turret from going down. Raven is going to be the one who ends up teleporting. We'll get up to that topside turret, and the wave not big enough to be able to sustain this, and Raven a little bit cautious here, looking to get aggressive in the 1v2. Already has Rover under quarter HP, and Source Walker now is just forced to walk away. Raven happy to take that 1v2, and while the feat is completed for HOB, it's still Triumphant Boots available for anyone.
Available for both teams. It's all down to the tower, and it looks like the jungler with the correct choice in tower to aim for was Divine. They will take the bot tower. That is feats completed. That should be Boots as well as well.
Oh, Raven! Oh, Raven! You can't dive the Urgot! Fear beyond death means Rover gets his revenge. Nice little seismic shove in mid lane. Cool Jace just forced off, but a beautiful counter there for Rover. Manages to survive the dive.
for all that aggression and everything you've done stepping forward, it's still an Urgot. It's the exact same rule when it comes to Wukong. It's still a Wukong. You don't dive those champions. You just stay away from them. But it is 9-8. There is a slight goal lead in favor of HOB, and they do have that feat completed. They will get better booties.
Oh, Divine. He's getting on top of the Talia. Goodbye. Cool. Jace gets the first and a nice hook over the wall from Toad. Now Source Walker's the one in trouble. Has to burn that flash. The redemption used as well to try and sustain. And Toad seems like it's going to be the sacrificial lamb. Rover comes in off the teleport, says I'm helping, takes the kill and walks away. That's your top laner right there.
That's what you want to see. The Black Cleaver coming in clutch there. All that extra damage you're going to get from that item.
From that one auto attack.
Yeah, exactly. It's everything you needed in an item, but we do have to jump back to the fact that that is a battle board Sejuani right now. That is Heartsteel completed, over 100 stacks, and so Raven going aggressive.
Yeah, very aggressive here with that Cyclone, but it's a 4v4 currently, and a lot of important ultis burned by HOB. Meantime, OMG still have that hostile takeover, still have that glacial prison, and still have that Talia walls. Joss is going to keep Divine in the pit. The Herald's getting so low, and it's going to be stolen away by Divine. It doesn't manage to pick up the eye, but then denies it away from OMG.
Is someone going to go for this? So Raven, I think,
Surely
has
not
the ability to go for this, but
he'd have to lose flash to get it. That would be a terrible idea.
Just clone over the wall. Just walk on it. Then flash out.
I think it's fine to lose it there because the important thing is OMG doesn't have it.
I know, but I just think it's so much fun riding the Herald around the map.
Well, no Heralds will be ridden today. I do want to point out, though, I want to look at item builds here for a little bit because we do have a few interesting choices for Jost on this Talia. I really don't like first item Seraphs. It's not a real item until you get that mana fully stacked, and you're so much better off with practically any other AP starter item. You could go for the burst with Ludens. You could go for consistent damage with Blackfire or Leandries. Just sit on that tier, let it stack up, let it take its time. But also for Drew Barrymore, I think we called out the build almost exactly, going for Yuntal into what looks like is going to be LDR next, and then probably an Infinity Edge. This Aphelios is really going to hurt once those 3 items come through.
I'd like to disagree with you on the Talia because Talia is currently behind, okay? And if you're behind on a champion that does build Archangels, by the time you get to it, you're going to see a second item at 25 minutes finally get completed. But if you rush it and it gets unlocked, it'll be 21 minutes you'll get it. So although you'll get it faster, you at least have 1 item instead of half of 2 items, if you know what I mean, later on. So I think it's a little bit better to go for the rush here when you're this far behind. So
I wonder if she was going for a different item, if she might be less behind, though, maybe.
I don't think so. I think at this current moment, Talia doesn't have the juice to actually get into a team fight and be impactful because you're just getting burst out. You're not doing enough damage. But that Archangel's Shield, now that it's completed at 19 minutes, yes, your damage will be lower, but you're going to be there for longer, which means you get more of those stuns off. You stop maybe one of those Wukong dashes that could be pivotal because of that extra shield. 1 more rotation of spells right now, I think, is more important to Talia than the extra 150 damage that last rock will do if you have a completed Leandries.
Oh, Toad flashes for the hook, but Joss just an expert sidestep, gets the seismic shove as well. Knockup lands, but no dice here for Toad. Has that Hex Flash, so isn't going to be too sad, but always feels rough.
Yeah, but I don't think Toad minds as much. Just keep being aggressive. I think that's HOB's plan here for this one, is just go as hard as humanly possible, try to pick up as many picks as you can, and try to force those breaks. But
it's like what I said in draft. HOB, they're half orc barbarians. They know SM orc. They know face. As it's gonna be the ult in from Divine. It's on to Source Walker. Maybe not the target they want, but Toad is looking for Panda. Split focus here will allow OMG to walk away with their health bars practically intact. Teleports and ultis used from Jost and Sir Raven to get into the fight, but the fight's already over by the time they get here.
Yeah, Jost does arrive on that wall, and the party has ended, sadly. Lights out as Divine turns the lights back on and says, everyone go home, we're done here. But Let's see, Drake being started. This is their win condition for the moment. Get
it's
that soul,
buffed.
get moving.
It's the buffed Chemtech Soul. It's 2% stronger. It's so insanely good. As Sourcewalker, looking for an engage here, is going to land the ulti onto LL Cool J. He's forced to flash out of that way. The ulti lands, Fear Beyond Death. Rover's going to eat up Toad for breakfast. In the meantime, though, Wukong getting some shutdown on the back line. Revnon able to pick up those Sejuani stats, and it looked good for OMG at the start, but HOB, say SM Orc, makes to the face. Revnon is coming up huge in the fight, and HOB take a big win.
Not quite.
Well, they were looking for a big win, and then
gets one back. Just gets one back right at the end. Archangel's making the difference there. Let's talk about it. Really happy to see, but it is HOB taking a massive fight, a massive win, getting that third Drake online as well. More importantly, getting one step closer to, as you said, that buffed Chem Soul, which for the team that they have, that kind of rebel in low
stronger, health. 13% damage reduction and increased damage. I thought Chemtech Soul was already good at 11%. That's a lot of damage reduction for just like a free objective. Getting to 13% is genuinely a very high number for damage reduction and increased damage. This Mordekaiser, if he gets under half HP, is just going to start mollywopping people.
Yeah, very good opportunity there for them too, and that's a decent kind of setup for a win condition for them in this game. But Akatan seems to be on the menu here.
Is that what I think it is? It's not glowing red. Sador, is there a bug in the game right now that Otacon is not glowing red? I'm confused. What is this? This isn't voracious. What is this?
Yeah, there's a bug definitely in this game, as we do see that the Nocturne has ulted here. It looks like they're going straight towards the mid lane, so Akatan for free for OMG. It's not really going to buff too much right now, as they only have not really
three grubs.
They do kill Urgot. Well, yeah, they have 3 grubs. It's not going to buff a lot, but even the roses alone will get them a decent amount of experience. But there's a Wukong there. That went to 700 HP.
Yeah, Raven is going to be bursted down. It will be picked up as the Roses are going to start getting auto-attacked. Glacial Prison goes wide from Source Walker, but still tanking in the front line, doing a lot of work. But Revnok gets a nice 2-man pull, and Drew Barrymore now in the Death Realm is just going to go down. Mordekaiser on the back line is putting in so much work. Fade against the hostile takeover, but it's just too little too late. A double kill to LL Cool J's and HOB. They lose the Ruinous Otacon, but they take another fight.
Do manage to take another fight. They do set themselves up nicely for these fights with the Mordekaiser. They know they can play around this one. I did see the Sejuani flash into the backline in an attempt to get one kill, which they did pick up in the end. But Sejuani's not really having the best of opportunities to peel for ADCs when they just seem to die so fast here. I'm starting to believe more in the melee bot lane carry that I believe might bring into solo queue. I'll see how I feel, because I'm still a Jinx lover at the end of the
day. Don't worry, we know how much you love a Jinx, but yeah, the Mordekaiser is working out very, very well. I think the fact that they got these triumphant boots, so those little bit of extra strength on those ninja tabbies, those plated steel caps, ends up putting in a lot of work when you can pull Drew Barrymore into a 1v1 and say, hey, you don't have your Renata, you don't have your Sejuani, you don't even have your Talia. Nobody's here to save you. You're stuck in 1v1 with me, and I'm not letting you out of here.
Yeah, I'm looking more now at the builds now as we go through the rest of Black Cleaver now for Nocturne, so they're fairly connected now in terms of helping to get through some of those resistances, set up the rest of the team, etc. That side lane is just going to become more and more of a problem for them with the Urgot, though. I still think Urgot is still going to win out in those 1v1s. I'm not liking the fact that they're sending Jost into that one. Yeah, there's still... Look, Sterix and Black Cleaver alone, those 2 items are nearly full build for an Urgot. Everything else from there is just flavor.
Yeah, but also, hang on, how did Urgot get an item lead over the Wukong in this match? I thought Wukong was annihilating him in the lane phase. We haven't just been... I just keep seeing every time we like pan to a side lane, Rover's getting bullied, but comes out stronger in terms of the items because of how expensive the one for
that one auto. Remember that one auto did?
It's that one auto. He picked up that one huge kill. You're so right.
Yeah, so Rover has managed to get that. We do see the pressure coming out from the way onto the Urgot. That's a fight you don't really want to take.
Mm-hmm.
Is that?
There's no way we're 25-minute Baroning. We are 25-minute Baroning. It's right away to Felios. They do it very quick, and Divine is on the other side of the map. OMG doesn't know, though, so they're going to burn the TP. They get a little scared, and they're going to peel away from it instead. They had the option to pull the trigger on it, but guess we're a little passive now. Mid lane turret is going down. Joss is going to launch that wall. This Glacial Prison doesn't manage to land. The hook does from Toad, though, and Joss is going to be gone. A beautiful hostile takeover, though, is going to land on a few members and force the rest of HOB back. It'll be traded 1-for-1 as Rover's going to get that shutdown goal, make it 2-for-1. 2-for-2 as Drew Barrymore ends up fight or dying, but there's nobody to kill. Raven picks up the last hit on that one, and it's a 2-for-2. It's an even trade across the board, but HOB have position on this dragon. Sourcewalker now in trouble. If he dies, this dragon is just going to be gone. Rover flashes into the backline. He wants to find LL Cool J's. Can he get the reset for Sourcewalker? No, he can't. He's shut down. Cool J's picks up the kill as well, and Panda's now on the run with no smite, with no team left. HOB are going to be able to grab themselves Chemtech Soul.
Look, the best way to put this is gods can bleed. Gods can bleed here as HOB are putting on a clinic right now, having an absolute wonderful time, and it's just around these objectives. They turn off the lights, they set up the fights, and they take everything they need. Is it Mordekaiser? Is this what it is? Is this what Vanquisher is going to come down to? Who can play the most top laners in the weirdest lanes?
I mean, surely not. Surely this is just Revenon having a hell of a game, right? Like, obviously, Drew Barrymore doesn't have that Infinity Edge completed yet, so the damage is a little lower. And yes, the Death Realm is very good at separating Aphelios from Renata, getting away from that combo. As Joss, I don't know if you're allowed to be here, is gonna lob a rock, but now Divine just gets to come in for free. There's no rocks to stop him. Joss throwing some more rocks, but the extra slow is coming through. Stridebreaker comes through. A nice stun on a Raven, but that Chemtech Soul means there's no chance of a death coming through. And it's just a clean side lane pick for HOB. Hang on, Rebnod just finds Drew Barrymore again. His Mordekaiser is unstoppable.
Yeah, it's...
This is a hell of a match as Rebnod is going to keep going on to Sourcewalker. Nice hostile takeover onto 2. They will finally knock down the Mordekaiser. Toad manages to scrape away with a sliver of HP, but the redemption coming in big for Panda, keeping his jungler alive. But it's just HOB. Every time there's a close scrap, every time there's a close fight, they just come out that little bit ahead.
I feel like Drew Barrymore for this game is going to 51st States it and forget everything after game 1 and just have to restart, because if I ever see a Mordekaiser again in bot lane, Drew Barrymore is going to be just heartbroken, morale, tilt, fault, whatever you want to call it. Absolutely shattered as a player right now, because playing Aphelios in this game, you have to feel comfortable, you have to feel strong. Every single time Drew Barrymore steps up, there's an Iron Revenant there with a bonking stick saying no.
Yeah.
What can you do in that situation?
And I mean, especially now with the Hextech Rocket Belt completed, even if Aphelios has the flash, he's just gonna like immediately shoot right after you. He's building that randos that we were talking about earlier as well. He's already got that Warden's Mail in inventory. This Mordekaiser is just 100% anti-Aphelios gaming. He just doesn't have a chance to play the game, the poor guy.
Look, I think at this stage Drew Barrymore needs to call in the rest of the Charlie's Angels and get more enchanters on this team. And just absolutely save them from this one, because...
Sir Raven.
Oh, where's Charlie?
Now in a 1v2, Rover's gonna get that Stairs pop, misses the Fear Beyond Death though, so Raven feeling much more free to just continue to play the Warrior Trickster, the flash over the wall, the tricksy Wukong comes out of the 1v3 with a kill and stays alive.
Yeah, and on the other side of the map, they're just taking a major objective. As you do, a 1v2 for Wukong and a major objective, and doesn't even die as Sourcewalker still trying to chase down the monkey. The monkey is Son Goku. If anyone's playing Black Myth Wukong before, you don't lose these, but when there is the rest of Charlie's Angels appearing on the map, you might lose this one.
Everybody showed up. They're going to try and give it to Barrymore, but they get a little close for comfort as Shutdown will be given over to the Aphelios. That should unlock the Infinity Edge for him as soon as he gets back to base, but how much do you lose for getting that Shutdown gold on that Wukong?
Not enough. I believe it was in Not Like Us by Kendrick Lamar. Just not enough. Simple as.
That was... I don't think that was Not Like Us, was it? I think that was TV Off.
Was it? Look, I've listened to that album on repeat like 4 or 5 times now. It's just
Yeah, GNX is an incredible album. If you haven't heard of it, even if you're not like a huge fan of
this year,
surely if people have heard of him, but if you haven't heard GNX at this point, you should go listen to it. Even if you're not like big in the rap scene, go and listen to the album. It's really good.
No, just go listen to Pimp a Butterfly.
Also an incredible album. Mr. Morale and the Big Stepper is another great one, but we're not here to talk about music. We're here to talk about League of Legends, and it's looking rough for OMG. They're down about 10,000 gold. Their Felios finally has 3 items, but how do you counter Mordekaiser ulti in a game like this? You can't just keep Barrymore away from the Mordekaiser forever. It's just not feasible.
Yeah, it's just not possible. Like Drew Barrymore in good movies in the last couple of years, there just isn't one. Sorry.
Too much shade on this broadcast. We're throwing too much shade.
So bad for that one. But like, look, the cinema's closed, the darkness comes on, and you just get pulled into this death realm where it's just Hallmark movies back and forth.
Oh God.
Yeah,
truly the worst thing that could happen. It is going to be Sir Raven pushing on the top side, so now potentially there's a chance for OMG to look for an engage. They have Revnon, still has that Death Realm though. They end up popping. It has Source Walker in the 1v1. Won't be able to get any stats. His Source Walker's just a little too tanky, but now Drew Barrymore with that red and white wants to keep pushing, but look inside the base. Who's going to be able to stop Sir Raven as the darkness is going to turn out the lights? It will be Rover teleporting back, but now in a 4v4. The health bar's so low for OMG. There's the hook. It's going to land. Toad can manage to find something. Source Walker will live for as long as humanly possible, but a beautiful heal comes through. LL Cool Chase with the Crypt Blue means that the team will not go down. Rover's going to end up pushing Raven out of the base, but you're going to end up losing Elder Dragon at the end of this exchange.
Sir Raven is not out of the base. Sir Raven has changed the objective that they're aiming for in the base. They went from inhib to tower to other inhib, collected them all, and now they're going to go back and collect another wave. And for everything they've stopped, they've gained absolutely nothing. They've lost a member in the meantime, 2 inhibs and a Nexus tower. Like, I think OMG should be using this time to think about next game. I know that sounds horrible, but this game
look,
is
there's a certain
gone.
point of game where it is kind of over unless a massive throw happens for HOB, and they've looked clean this game.
If anyone here watches CS, it's a Zeus pause. So you pause and talk about the rest of the next round in the middle of the previous round. Start talking about what went right, what went wrong. All these champions are gone. What are they going to take next? Where do we need to focus? Where is our carry potential? They're the things you need to be sorting out, and just keep the morale high. Be making jokes, having a good time. Make sure no one's getting tilted, because that's what's going to win you game 2. And OMG, they've never been in this position. They haven't lost a game yet.
Yeah, I do think OMG is playing not particularly poorly in this game. HOB have just been playing incredibly well. Drew Barrymore, lights are going to go out. Divine looking for potential engage opportunity is going to find it onto Rover, but it's just onto that tankier Urgot. Source Walker tanking up. That's probably Despair in the front line as well. Nice 2-man pull from Revnon. The health bars just continue to go down. There goes Revnon, flashing into that front line, looking for the ulti onto Source Walker. Wants to find that kill. Manages to pick it up, and now with the Sejuani stats, this Mordekaiser should be unkillable. Brought back from death again and again. Drew Barrymore, though, wants to make it happen. Picks up a couple. Makes it very close with a triple kill. But now it's Revenant versus Rover to 1v1, or 2v2, I'm sorry, as Jost and Sir Raven are still alive to try and find the end of the game.
Drew Barrymore manages to make another hit somewhere in the Hallmark category and gets onto that SB list. But we will see maybe a small comeback in terms of gold. But overall, the game is still heavily in favor of HOB. They just need to be a little bit more calm and collected around those fights.
They're too SM work.
Still being massive. Look, some of the rage might have peeled off now. This game's going on too long.
We do still have that Elder Dragon up. For all of these scuffles, it has not been picked up yet. We are seeing the goal difference here. It's at this point in the game, the goal difference doesn't even matter too much. You can see the few spots where they do have leads, but after all those kills, Drew Barrymore managing to pull ahead of Revenant in terms of gold. Has that Bloodthirster now completed, sitting on that red pot, even with all the tank items that Revenant and Divine and Toad have. This Aphelios is really going to hurt.
Yeah. It's going to hurt. But is it going to hurt that much? They have popped the pot. They know the fight is coming soon.
He needs to get rid of Purple Gun
to actually hurt HOB's chance of winning. If we see Revenant take a tank, take the stats, appear in the fight on top of Drew Barrymore, Drew Barrymore's gone. I'm sorry
Yeah,
to say.
Barrymore trying to get rid of the purple gun now, has now red plus blue. A pretty potent fight combination. It's not red-white as they're going to look for an engage. They found the pick. They found LL Cool J. Ace. Drew Barrymore picks up that shutdown gold. This Aphelios, the main component of this OMG composition, stays strong. Rover and Raven 1v1ing in the base. Good call out there. Rover just trying to keep that base alive. The Nexus turret is going to end up respawning in a few seconds, I think. If it hasn't already respawned, I don't know if this is a bug, but I can't see the health bar on it. Divine is also looking for his way in as the fight's happening on the top side of your screen there. They're looking for the pick. They might have found Drew Barrymore overstepping his bounds without his team nearby. Barrymore goes down, and this should be HOB's chance to try and finally find the end of the game. Now 4v4 inside the base. Rev not full HP, so Raven down to about half. Rover also down to about half. Hook misses from Toad. Respawning Nexus turrets might actually end up saving this game as HOB just can't manage to find any way in.
Elder Drake is still there.
It's still there. It's still there.
I'm just saying that, like, that's the one thing that's standing out to me. It's like you all rushed in. It's just like, oh my god, Drew Barrymore, we got it. And then nothing happens. He's just in this staring contest in the middle of the enemy base, being like, oh, we'll try, and then the other team's like, no, you won't. And they're like, yeah, you're right. Like, it's just go take the Elder. Like, there you go. You've got it. Good job. Can you imagine how much the coach is screaming right now for HOB?
Yeah, the coach has got to be hurting. For OMG even, I think their coach has to be getting a little nervous after this game 1. The game's not over just yet. OMG
can't pick Mordekaiser twice.
Yeah, thankfully, they will not have to see a second Mordekaiser, but a pick like this leads into the question of what else does Revdon have prepared in the bottom lane? Is this Mordekaiser the only spicy pick? Are they going to pull out like an Aurora, a Darius, calling back to Faker bottom lane back in the day? Like, they have a lot of options, and if OMG hasn't done their proper scouting, this could be a very scary pick for the bottom side. As the third inhibitor is going to get picked up, the rest of the other two did respawn, so HOB is going to take their time, take them all down, and just keep looking to apply more pressure. There's one Nexus turret left standing. That other one is gone. You can see that respawn timer just above it, still waiting to come back, but I don't know if OMG is going to be able to stall enough time. They've got great wave clear with Drew Barrymore and with Jost, but how long can you truly stall versus this Elder push?
It all depends on if Drew Barrymore can get a decent ult off here with possibly blue gun over red. I think using Infernum here and getting that multi-proc kind of AoE will be the difference maker. You see them being very cautious with using abilities here. Don't want to burn through guns. You don't want to use those just yet, as they're slowly ticking away on those guns. You don't want to swap to a purple now. You don't want that stun gun. You want that full fire gun.
They either have green or white in the back. They just used purple to get to this blue-red. But I think with the health bars of the turrets getting pretty low, they're just not able to put enough pressure on it. OMG will survive this Elder push, but the Baron is still up and available, so HOB can just turn to that one instead and take it away.
This could be an interesting one, as Baron is being started. They're afraid to leave the base in the terms of Wukong's going, hey, bonk the tower. There's a lot of bonks going on the side of HOB, as Barbarians do like to play, but as you can see, there's no contest available for this Baron, as you see a Blitzcrank sitting in the blue bush, just like daring someone to enter that one as Sir Raven. Could be in trouble here, wall up.
Could be, but yeah, he's got the Warrior Trickster. He's just going to get out. Sourcewalker really wants to chase him down. Fear Beyond Death is not going to land, so the slow will not land. Raven will be able to walk out. No contest on the Baron or on the side lane for OMG. And now with the minis pouring into the base, truly, what do you have left in the tank, OMG?
If OMG manage to turn this one around, we can see why they're top of the table.
If they turn this game around, I will cook and eat a sock live on stream. I will make content for that happen.
Write that down, clip that. Send it to me.
You can clip it and ship it. If OMG managed to turn this game around, 3 inhibitors down, 1 Nexus turret left. The second one didn't end up respawning though, so it is there. But this should just be the last storm into the base. That Nexus turret will fall. One left standing. Toad manages to find a hook. Is going to force the flash. They are just going to get bursted down. Manages to get the hostile takeover before they go. But there's just nothing left standing for OMG. Sourcewalker trying to get some damage down on the front line. Drew Barrymore doing a valiant attempt on the back line. But it's a double kill to LL Cool J's. Rover manages to survive with a sliver of HP. But Revnon does not want to let him go. The Nexus falls. And HOB will draw blood against the gods of Group C.
Yeah, they do fall. Gods can bleed their first loss here, and this will be a good opportunity for teams to see how it worked and go Mordekaiser and write that down in their little notebooks. Email it to all of the team and go, this is something we all have to practice now for some reason. But I am genuinely worried that this is one of those comps that works 1 in a million. It's one of those games where it just somehow clicks and it manages to get across the line. I think, yes, they played it to perfection. They played it very well. They knew how to work as a team around it. They've obviously practiced it before with the sub coming in with Revnon. But what else does Revnon have in the tank, considering their first option as an ADC is to go Mordekaiser? Especially with so many ADCs available with the likes of Callistas, etc. I'm kind of scared to see what's going to happen next and wonder if the OMG are just going to be able to pull it back into a 2-1.
Yeah, because I don't think OMG played poorly that game. I do think Half-Orc Barbarians just played that little bit extra better. They just had that little bit more coordination, that little bit better silane macro. I do think we saw a weakness in OMG that their silane and their cross-map play, especially in the early game, wasn't perfect. They ended up losing a lot of macro traits just because Divine was in the right spot at the right time and made life very difficult for Soulwalker on the Sejuani.
Yes, Sejuani didn't really have as much opportunity as we would have hoped to just be throwing ults in and something dying. We did see it once or twice with LL Cool J's getting caught, but most of the time it was also Talia's pullback to throw them into the right area for Drew Barrymore to clear it up. So there was good combos there, but Sejuani wasn't doing enough as a solo engage to set up the team. But that does have a lot to do with the fact you're playing into technically 4 bruisers.
Yeah, 4 bruisers with no melees of your own. A rough game for Soulwalker and a rough game for OMG. As we said, they lose their first game for the entirety of Vanquisher so far. And after we get back from the break, we will see if Half-Orc Barbarians can manage to land this series 2-0 or if OMG are going to strike back. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Like, ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? Ay, coming down like precipitation. I ain't never met a limitation. Hate plotting my elimination. Gotta go to Google for the information. I'm a superstar, so I gotta shine. Top dollar be the bottom line. Bottom feeding niggas out of line. Turn your heart rate to a dotted line. Yeah, my zodiac probably dollar sign. Got the energy to win it, my nigga, I'm feeling great. Got a day with destiny, focusing on my fate. I don't give a fuck what you rapping, you been a fake. I'm everything that they ain't, it can't be, it won't be. Wanna see me fall, I can't go, I won't leave. Coming from the block with plain clothes and police. Straight up to the top with bankrolls and rollies. Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? Ay, 12 can't really stop shit, so I'm still pushing like a mosh pit. Ice dripping, think I'm hot shit. In a yellow bucket with the mop stick. I've been jugging jams like wholesale. Everything must go sell. Hitting bitches with the oh well. Need 100 million on the low scale. On my worst night, I'm the best nigga. Wouldn't mess with you, couldn't cap to him. Homie spotted me like 700, brought 1100 right back to him. If I can't do it, then it ain't real. I just make dollars, I don't make deals. I've been going hard in the paint, still blowing kush clouds till I can't feel like. Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
Welcome back, everybody. We are here jumping in. It's game number 2 between OMG and HOB. But before we get to the draft for that game, there's something we like to do here on the Titan Esports broadcast. This was one that I was loath to take part in, but I must do my job. We do a kiss, marry, kill about certain champions, and our controller of the game this week, Golden, decided to have a little fun with us this time around and just make it horse week. As we've got High Noon Hecarim, Elderwood Hecarim, and Arcana Hecarim. And I seem to be the only person who said, I don't like Arcana Hecarim that much.
See, this is the thing. We had this last night in Divinity with more horses, okay? And we're doing horses again. That's fine. I think people are picking these based on what their favorite skin is to play. Not on the actual thing is, would you kiss, marry, or kill these? Let's put it quite simply. High Noon, kill it. I don't want a cowboy as a partner. Don't want
Look,
very, very
have
simple.
you ever heard the term
Elderwood,
save a horse, ride a
great for a
cowboy?
one-night stand, out in the forest, doing your thing, wonderful. Arcana, magical partner. Why would you not want that?
Magical, maybe, but also, do you know which Arcana Hecarim is signifying here? Which one of the major Arcana in the tarot?
Red, it's black, it is strong. Look at the 6-pack on that thing. It's looking rich. That's a lot of gold on that thing.
This is sounding more like you want to kiss Arcana Hecarim more than marry Arcana Hecarim, personally.
No, because I want to marry it because that has money. I want to kiss Elderwood because that's one night in the forest. That is perfectly fine by me. But High Noon, kill it. Kill that
See,
thing.
I simply wish to be a fairy queen, so I'm joining Elderwood Hecarim in the woods as the only person to make the correct decision here.
Yeah, but you can be poor in the woods all you want. I'm going to be rich in Arcana land.
It may be rich. Have you read up on the lore of the Arcana skin line?
There's gold. I will sell you pauldrons. I don't care. See that necklace? That's got to be worth at least a couple thousand gold. That's a house right there around that neck. It's a rollie on the wrist. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's a very practical way of looking at the game for sure. We did have Golden and Loki.
It's not the skins, it's not the lore, it's looking at it and going, you're in a bar and these three things are in the stables outside. Which one are you going home with forever? Which one are you taking for one night? And which one are you leaving there to rot and die?
And I'm taking the magical woodland horse. I like nature. Elderwood Hecarim likes nature.
In the forest.
Look, if that's how I die, that's how I die.
This is how bandits happen in like any RPG. You follow the mystical, magical wizard into the forest and you get absolutely assaulted.
Look, that's the way it has to be. This is the way it has to be.
Magic. Go with magic every time. I don't know why people...
Hang on, I'm sorry. Is Elderwood not magic?
Look at it this way, right? Best way. Pretty. I'm going to be honest with you. No one has agreed with you here while someone has agreed with me here. So technically, I win regardless.
There's no winners or losers in this game.
There is.
You know what? You win if you have fun, and I had a lot of fun picking these picks.
You win the average. I mean, really hope there's a mask nerd that gets that joke.
Haha, very funny.
I thought it was really good. All right, sorry.
It sure was a joke. We appreciated your attempt.
Fairies, go on.
Well, yeah, they're all here.
Yeah, all right, whatever.
We're going to be jumping into draft fairly soon. We have a chance to talk about the game previous as we jump into the draft here for game number 2. HOB up in the series. I think not something that any of us truly were coming in expecting to have happen, but something we're excited to have happen at the very least. They look fantastic in that game 1. It's just going to be a matter of can they continue that success moving into game 2.
I expected it because if it's ever going to be a night where I'm doing back-to-back casts 2 nights in a row, of course we have to go to a game 3 to make sure I don't go to sleep until 5 in the morning. You know, the usuals. But we are seeing a big change already with Vayne being taken away, Cho'Gath on the other side. We do obviously have the swap coming back in now, where the sub did come in. I believe Revnon is actually not playing this one and the actual ADC is back. I just want to double check that with production.
No, Revnon is the main AD carry. OMG's mid laner. Jost is out, Epitome is in. So the band's only changing up a little bit. We have Cho'Gath and Set taken away. So OMG really focusing down the top lane pool. After seeing that Wukong, they said, hey, we're not going to let you have any of these picks. And any of the ones that could flex into bottom lane, like that Darius, like that Cho'Gath, not going to come through either. Cassandra and Skarner both still up and available. Aatrox is going to be the pick, though, as it seems like that's either for Sir Raven or for Revnon. Who knows at this point?
That is not a blindable pick in any universe. You cannot blind Aatrox in a game like this because you will get tanked. You will get thanked hard by our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, Malphite. Also, if Rover does not pick the Shamrock skin, I'm going to be very upset with them because, hello, I'm Irish. Do it for the Vine. But we do have Jax coming through in the jungle. So is that going to be a Malphite flex mid?
I really hope not, because Tank Malphite is in one of the best spots that it's been in a long time, with a lot of those MR tank items getting reduced in strength. It means that these these armor tank items, very, very good. And like, yeah, even with the loss of Fimbulwinter and Ending Despair, the combo's a lot worse now. It's not as good, but you can play tank Malphite and still be unkillable, especially looking at Azir, who's very reliant on attack speed, and Vi and Aatrox, who are very AD heavy.
Okay, well, we have Geometry, Rock, and Lamppost for OMG, into an Emperor, Enforcer, and the God of Death and War. So yeah, this looks like a fair one. Vel'Koz is going to have a great time if Vi doesn't press R on them, and if Vi doesn't press R, Malphite's going to hit whatever else is trying to get to it. So I actually really enjoy the Vel'Koz pick so far. It's also very hard to counter something that doesn't want to ever like play with you in the lane.
I am getting word that this is not the actual order of the draft itself. This is going to be in pick order. I see someone in the chat talking about this is not the order that they picked it in, so we're seeing it in the way that I'm assuming they're going to have it drafted for when they set up for actual game, but we don't get to see the order this time. Yeah, so we don't have the pick order, unfortunately. We're just going to have to see the picks as they come. It's a Smolder in the bottom lane for OMG, and with the scaling composition like this, I don't hate it. They're not facing too healthy targets for HOB, as that's a Xin Zhao for Revnon. Okay, we want more shenanigans in the bottom lane.
I actually really enjoy that pick. I think Xin Zhao is probably my favorite jungler, apart from Skarner, obviously. So I think his ability to press R and Smolder not do damage, Vel'Koz not do damage, and him control the middle of that fight without taking damage from carries puts them in a great position. I just don't know how they can continue getting away with it.
I think with Vi Azir, you had enough engage. You didn't really need a Nautilus in this. I would have loved something like a Karma, maybe for a little bit more AP, or even just like a Nami, some kind of enchanter to pair along with his Xin Zhao and just turbo buff him to the ends of the earth and make Smolder's life so incredibly difficult.
I don't think OMG will be afforded the same time as they were in game 2 if HOB play it correctly. So they played the last game very well, but they did lose a couple of objectives here and there. They ended up getting Soul. They kind of slowed down the late game quite a bit, and it all came down to Revnon just being Mordekaiser.
A monster Mordekaiser, yeah.
If they can hyper escalate the mid game into constant scrappy fights and not give Drew Barrymore the time to scale, this game could be over very, very quickly. That Xin Zhao pick is standing out to me as something that can really shake up these fights. I'm slightly worried about the Vel'Koz. That's the one thing that's standing out, is like, yes, Xin Zhao can dodge it. No one else really can.
No one else can
get to it. So it's down to Panda and Rover, I think, to keep Epitome alive.
Which is a big question to ask, because the Smolder Braum in the bottom lane is basically a more passive version of Aphelios Renata. You have a really good scaling in your early game. It is not so bad that you can't fight through it, but you're not a 2v2 Renata Kalista like Kaisa Rel dominating bottom lane. You're playing passive. You're playing to scale, and like you said, I'm not sure OMG has the time to scale in a game like this. You have Azir who really spikes on one item, Vi who likes being aggressive in the early game, Xin Zhao Nautilus who is a kill lane if I've ever seen a kill lane, and then Aatrox in the top lane who, well, yeah, he's not going to kill the Malphite 1v1 unless Rover really misplays. It's still Aatrox. He's going to cause problems. I don't know if you watched the LCK recently, but Aatrox is still very good right now.
LCK is a different... When LCK plays Aatrox, it's a different champion. We all remember what happened to G2, okay? It's a different champion.
God, the shy. Ugh.
Exactly. It's a different champion. It's like when when NA plays Ryze, you know you're doomed. NA Jace, you know you're doomed.
If it's not Bjergsen on Ryze, I don't want it.
Yeah, and then you have like EU Pike. You know, there's certain regions play things better. And
there's a reason why the best Pike player in EU was Jonghoon, who is now back at the LCK.
Well, I don't know about that one. There was this moment where G2 played Pike top.
Okay, I don't need to remember. Back in my day, the Pentaflex Pike. But
2019, it wasn't that long.
That's 6 years ago.
I am old. EU has been bad for so long. 2018 and 2019 were our last 2 good years because it was Fnatic.
Yeah, remember when you had a team make it to finals 2 years in a row? Wow, good times.
Yeah. And then what's
I can't imagine what that's like, but you know.
NA ever done? Let's talk about it.
Beat G2.
Sorry, that trophy is just... I know we left it somewhere. That trophy is somewhere.
back in season 1, yeah, where you won it.
Wait, what about MSI?
Yeah, MSI
Wait, sorry, no, the MSI finals, that one where it was the fastest best of 5 ever in the history of...
Yeah, that Team Liquid team was bad. I'll take that. That Team Liquid team was not great.
It was your crown
jewel. But we did beat IG.
We
did beat IG.
And Bjergsen. I got swept.
We beat IG to get there, and you know what? That's a success all on its own, honestly.
I love how trophies are acclimated by how many teams you can beat on the way to losing a final. That's sound like a true NA fan right there. But, we
Look,
could
I
argue about
understand
NA
my
versus
region is
EU
bad.
all
We'll
day.
take our wins where we can get it. We beat G2 in a not even close series. I'm happy with that.
Isn't your best player right now Whippa
Eh,
in NA?
eh.
And
Sniper's
Inspired?
pretty good. Tenacity's pretty good. Inspired, he's all right. Whipple's probably one of the more knowledgeable players, for sure.
But back into this draft role, we'll talk about NA versus EU later because I will fight my corner for this forever.
I'm never going to say that NA is better than EU, but I'm not going to say that EU was always better than NA.
We'll see. Worlds is only around the corner.
That's true. We'll have to see how that goes.
But this mid matchup, it's not something you see often. It's
Azir Vel'Koz is a very different matchup than what we normally see.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where it is a lot of jungle pressure required for either of them to get a lead, because if Azir decides to poke, Vel'Koz goes, okay, I'll poke you back, because Vel'Koz's range and Azir's range are quite similar in terms of abilities. So if Azir steps forward to try to get some soldiers off, you might get stunned. If he tries to slide forward, that's W into Q, and it's a free tree proc. And Vel'Koz then steps back. That lane will be heavily influenced by Sourcewalker and Endivine trying their very best to get into that lane. The other issue is both of them are very good at wave clear. So that lane is going to be catastrophically bad or good, depending on which jungler manages to pull it off.
My question for LL Cool J is, what Keystone rune are you going here? Because we know Azir has a lot of bursty runes like Electrocute and Halo Blades, but you also have some more poke-focused ones. You have the Comet. You could even go Conqueror if you want to take a longer, more sustained fight over time. I think there's a lot of options for Cool Jace. It's just going to be a matter of what do they feel like they need to match Vel'Koz in? Do you need to beat him in a bursty trade where you're taking Electrocute and just going W auto, Q, W auto, and getting that 3-hit proc? Or if you're going Comet to just try and out-poke him, Grasp if you want to be, you know, like, what, 5-6 patches behind at this point? It's still a possibility, but...
I think most junglers at the moment are taking either Grasp or they are taking Lethal Tempo, which is a strange one. Lethal Tempo means you are rushing into that Lasher.
Yeah, Walker could have Jace. Or Walker could have Tempo on the Jax, but... yeah, Jace could have the Lethal Tempo on Azir as well. I wouldn't hate Nashers in this game. I think you need someone who's going to do sustained damage to Rover on this Malphite, and I'm telling you, it's not going to be any of your ADs, that's for sure.
Yeah, I do think it kind of depends on what you want to do with the Azir. If you want to survive the lane with Vel'Koz, you take the Grasp. If you know you're going to be able to play aggressive, you take the Lethal Tempo. In this lane in particular, I would nearly opt into the Lethal Tempo because you're just saving your E to dodge the dash. Also, someone just screamed APA at me.
I mean, he's one of the better NA-born talents that we have.
Who?
He's the early Soul and Ziggs guy you'd probably remember him as.
No, has he won anything?
Not yet, but he's fairly young.
Oh yeah, so he has no trophies.
I mean, neither does a lot of EU.
Well, see that he might support those. They have a world championship. They have an undefeated split.
A world championship. When was this again?
Does it matter when you win it? Because
yeah, I think it does.
Okay,
actually,
here's a better one. I'm gonna get into this one. Where's your world skin? Do you have a world skin?
No, we don't.
But you have. Does your region have a world skin?
Does yours have one with any active players? Any players that retired in the past 5 years?
Yes, because Yellowstar still plays for PSG Talon.
There's no way he still plays.
Yes. Also, I
didn't know he was still active. Wow.
He's a coach right now, so he's still active in the scene.
Coach, active in the scene is not active player.
Ratones, so he's still.
Reckless was not the one who got the world skin.
Doesn't matter. He was actually on the team at 16 because he was subbed from Copenhagen Wolves. So you can take that.
We should be ready to get to game any minute now before we get too deep into the NA versus EU rivalry. We can chat at each other later, but it's hearing from our producer.
Hold on, production needs to tell me something. Production, what's up?
Okay, we'll be loading in a minute behind. Yeah, thank you to our producer and observer, Loki and Golden, just making sure that this runs as smoothly as possible. You'll see the timer on the board will be over a minute. We haven't missed anything. Everything will be just fine, but we're just starting just that extra minute late, so we'll see if there's anything that we might have missed. Some extra wards went down. OMG got some wards on the blue buff and the Raptor pit, but nothing else that we ended up missing over time.
Yeah, this is what we wanted as well. I'm talking about the lethal tempo appearing onto the Azir, and that's what I wanted. I wanted to see a little bit of aggression coming through. Very excited to see how it's going to go over the course of the game. And Source Walker going for the Conqueror, so extended trades, as I'm also being called a hater in my DMs on NA. Of course I am. Me, I'm meant to.
Yeah, this is, look, I don't feel any like direct hatred for you for disliking NA. If NA didn't like EU and EU didn't like NA, what would we have a rivalry with? Because neither of us can be Korea or China.
Look, the best way to put it is increase my wages and I'll get a visa. Nice and easy, but a good bit of poke already coming out from Drew Barrymore and Panda onto the Jhin. I think they'll probably want to play this game a little bit more aggressively than we saw previously into the Mordekaiser, realizing the scaling was incredible from Mordekaiser. They don't want to see that again. And also, Mordekaiser has a death realm, Jhin Zhao has a enter my realm kind of style, so there's still a lot of I want to say Bankai, but I think more people will understand domain expansion at this stage.
Oh, that's rough. That's gotta feel bad. But I do also want to point out Drew Barrymore with the grasp on Smolder, not any sort of like fleet or Dark Harvest. This is a sustain rune, but it's also a decent poke rune. It's
Dark Harvest?
I've seen Dark Harvest on Smolder quite a few times, but I think the grasp is a really good. I think the grasp in this particular game is very good because you can farm it off of these two melees very easily with your Qs, with your autos. It allows you to stack up a lot of HP even post those ranged and nerfs. It's still a pretty good sustain and pretty good damage rune. It'll be good for poke. It'll be good to keep Drew Barrymore much healthier in a late game, which means it's harder for Revnon and Divine and Cool Jace and Raven and Toad, honestly, to one-shot him.
Can't believe you said Dark Harvest on Smolder. Hurts my brain.
I've seen it before when you're going like a full cooldown build. You just go Dark Harvest to try and get some semblance of an early game.
Yeah, in ARAM.
Yeah, in ARAM, but also when I've seen it in normal games.
Yeah,
I've seen too much.
That is.
I've seen it too much in normal games.
Hedonistic. Speaking about a normal game in terms of meta, you take Arcane Comet if you want to be a baller. You take Grasp if you don't. Simple. God, that UNH had fired me up to be angry right now.
I've seen Fleet Footwork more than I've seen Arcane Comet. Comet was back when like you built AP on Smolder.
It's still like it's one of those things where if you want to be very aggressive in lane, you go for the mana ring into the Arcane Comet and just heavily poke. But first,
hello.
Top side, as Aatrox has decided to just kill things, as our observer and producers were deciding to turn off chat in the background.
Revnon now gonna get stunned up in the bottom lane. Barrymore will get rooted and eat a lot of damage off the back half of this, but does have those biscuits and potions, so we'll be able to sustain it back up. As this is the issue engaging versus a Braum lane. Those stuns end up doing so much work.
I'm really interested to see how that solo bolo did go, but we do know that Divine was up there with Devi. It was very easy for Malphite to be like, oh wait, I'm a rock, and just fall over and die. But Aatrox getting a lead in that lane is very, very good for the style that you want to see from an Aatrox, which is heavy aggression going forward, wanting to fight. But double cloth armor for Rover is still saying, I don't want to be a part of this game.
Yeah, I mean, you're up against 3 ADs. You do have the Azir that you kind of have to worry about, but if you build a Frozen Heart, Azir's damage is also going to be taken down, so I don't think Rover's feeling too bad. Even a kill down about his position in this game, especially if Divine is coming up to top lane and this is the lane he's choosing to influence, there's a whole rest of the map that Source Walker has full control over.
Yeah, it could be good for the Jax. I do like currently junglers to be a little more aggressive and influencing lanes. But Jax is one of those junglers that leaves the jungle a raid boss. So I don't mind that. I'm just going to farm style. I kind of want to see the Jax jump on something early because the sound of Jax hitting things is amazing. Because you get that like a lamppost to the side of a skull. As Toad, that was a nice slide.
Nice little Spider-Man jump his way away from Panda and Epitome. Epitome in here for his first game in the series, was not present for OMG's first loss, so potentially able to be the difference maker for them coming into this game number 2. And if you're a sub or if you're a main player and you miss game number 1, coming into game 2 in a deficit, whether it's a best of 3 or a best of 5, never feels great. As Raven just wants to find a dive. Rover is going to end up dying, but Raven will trade it 1 for 1, as I believe that was just a little bit of extra shutdown gold going over to Rover.
I don't think there was a shutdown there just yet. I don't think the CS was that much. I think that might have been a minion dying as he threw a Q towards it. I'm not sure quite what
Potentially.
happened there. But yeah, it's... I don't
think it's worth
really
it for Aatrox.
No, it is. It is. Hold on.
Hang on. Yeah. If they kill Rover here, it's 100% worth it. But he is level 6. He does have ulti, so he can either get to the tower or get away if they try to engage on him. The knockup's going to land. He just ults into the tower, and with Divine spending all his time up in topside, that dragon is going to go down in favor of OMG.
Yes, we do see Vi should be heading towards those grubs. There is Prio mid as well, and we do spot out Source Walker taking the Scuttle Crab on that as the mid ward does spot them now entering the jungle. But Vi instead opting into stealing the jungle with Revnon. You're getting stunned and hit.
Yeah, it's a lot of damage onto this Zinza. Wind becomes lightning is going to land to do a decent chunk back, but look at the damage the Smolder is doing. This is early game. He's not even at 125, 225 yet. This is the weak baby dragon.
Yeah, there's something about baby dragons and the fact that Jin Zhao used to be a dragon slayer, but we also have to remember Jin Zhao's past doesn't matter.
Is gonna get hooked up, and here comes Mom, is just gonna shut down Toad. Sourcewalker will pick up that kill. Panda tanking with the turret beautifully, will end up surviving as well. What an executed dive from OMG as they take the feat of warfare as well.
Yeah, everything they needed from that bot. So I was going to say Jin Zhao can get a lot of healing back with the passive. Every 3 hits, you get a chunk of healing back. You add on everything else that Jin Zhao has. Endurance shield, health will regenerate as well. Looking good. Is that a tier?
That is a tier. I have to assume this is going to be Fimbulwinter later for the Xin, as this is just kind of it's the flavor of the month item even after its nerf. It's still very good, but it's not as dominant as it once was in terms of tank items. But this is what I was talking about with Divine spending so much time on the top side. It's allowed Sourcewalker to get this Smolder lane ahead, which is a really big deal for this OMG composition. If Drew Barrymore is allowed to play the game that he wants to play, life is going to be a nightmare for this HOB comp.
I miss the days of everyone having cyanide in their house as a wartime strategy in case of a nuclear threat, because this game is causing me issues. Just rush Sundering Sky. Just absolutely slam that. Just forget about the Fimbulwinter.
I have to imagine that's still what his item is going to go first. I can't think that he would go for any other item, as he's going to get a little trade here onto Drew Barrymore, who will get out of range of Toad for the hook, so no chance for any sort of re-engage there. But now that Revnon is level 6, I think he's feeling a little bit more confident to play aggressive.
Yeah, should be, especially when Nazir in the area. Toad, you got to watch out for that.
Yeah.
That's not a fight you want to take.
Sourcewalker playing good defense here for the Smolder. Saw Panda rotating topside and said, hey, I need to defend my Smolder. Don't let him get dove. And excellently played there. Drives off the Nautilus and the Xin. And life is only going to get more difficult for these guys. I have to wonder if Revnon... Something has to happen here for this bottom lane. Something's happening in the mid lane as Epitome is the one getting targeted now. Does have the flash. Doesn't manage to get away from the Vault Breaker. I think it's just going to save the cooldown. Says, all right, you got the ultis on me. I'm dead. Take your kill, and walks away.
Yeah, sometimes it's just better not to burn that summoner that's 5 minutes. Of a cooldown you don't want to be giving over. So, yeah, a free kill there in the end. 3 for 3, but they've already picked up Warfare. They have gotten their Drake. They have lost the grubs, and an invade already as well from Divinus. Twice they've been in the topside jungle of Sourcewalker now. So Sourcewalker been around that bot side helping cover, etc, etc. But Divine has been more proactive on the map in terms of stealing camps. Still behind though.
Yeah, I do think Sourcewalker has picked up enough in terms of XP and CS from lanes and from the rest of the farming that they got while Divine was spending all that time up in the top side trying to camp out Rover on the Malphite, that I think Sourcewalker's feeling okay with the position they're in. They're getting close to that first item of Trinity Force already, which is going to be such a big spike for this Jax. Rover almost has the Thornmail completed, which means that Aatrox, even with the Shojin already finished, is going to have a much harder of a time trading back with him. Essence Reaver now completed for Smolder as well. And even with Nashor's Tooth completed for LL Cool J, I think OMG is feeling in a very comfortable position for this game number 2. I think they're much happier rather than where they were in game number 1.
Yeah, this is... Very even, but a very easy catch through as Toad will once again slide. This is Toad's favorite position on the map. 100%. They just every single
Loves
wall
being in
works
river
for them.
entrance.
Yeah, every single wall is just within hook reach, and they're just like, yeah, I can go anywhere I want, and you can do nothing about it. As Sir Raven is making Aatrox look like a high-speed, high-tempo champion with the way they're autoing and weaving and queuing and everything. That champion's slow as hell. Don't lie. All the animations you want, Riot, that champion's still slow as hell. Bring back old Aatrox that used to just queue forward at an angle. Love that.
Don't remind me of old Aatrox. I minged him before he got reworked.
In Ireland with old Aatrox into Zed. That was my jam. I still have the video. Like, someone sent it to me ages ago in an email, and it's still there, and I absolutely love it. It is old Aatrox was. Do you remember he used to just be a triangle?
He was just the triangle. He sent out a little zap, and he did a little damage with a little slow.
Yeah, and his
I remember
first healing or damage.
I remember building first item Zephyr on that champion because I would hated how much crowd control I would get hit with every single game. So I was like, fine, I'll build tenacity item, but I'm not building tenacity boots. Give me the other item that gives tenacity and attack speed. That's a good stat. Old Zephyr was a mess. HOB is going to pick up their own first dragon, so they will have that one in inventory. I do also want to point out, you mentioned that Revnon on the Xin Zhao used to be a Dragon Slayer, but is actually wearing the Dragon Slayer skin on the Xin, so prepared for the matchup against the Smolder. But now might be in a bit of trouble. Barrymore getting knocked up, locked down. The Glacial Fissure cannot get anything done for this poor baby dragon. Shutdown will go over to Todas. Panda's walking back in. Is going to be forced to lose the flash. When becomes late, is going to land, and that's just another free kill. Panda, buddy, why are we walking back there? Loses his summoners, loses his life, and OMG lose out on the bottom side.
Yeah, they lose 2 there, and they do manage to get Revenant back into the game with that CS lead building so heavily. It is going to be Titanic first item coming through for the Xin Zhao, so we have been debated very, very quickly into believing that they were going to build a correct build for Xin Zhao and not whatever they just felt like building. So we're going to get what I refer to as the bottom of the barrel. So this is like going into a shop, going into the corner, rooting through the trash can and going, this'll do. This is what
it's
the
way
build
clear.
is going to be. It is.
It
sure
is
way
way clear.
Can definitely use, but I just think in League of Legends at this level, which is nearly the highest level, maybe just best in slot your items for the given game and not go, I'm going to play wave clear Xin Zhao when I have an Azir.
Yeah, with the Azir and with the Aatrox, I don't think this team should be struggling for wave clear, as another nice Q3 lands from Sir Raven, but with the pieces of that Sunfire in inventory and that Bramble Vest, it's getting harder and harder for this Aatrox to actually get a positive trade, as Teleport's going to be used by LL Cool J's to defend this turret. The plates still go down, so Drew Barrymore and the rest of the squad will pick up that extra bit of gold, but if they get another chance to hit this turret now that plates are gone, it's just going to disappear.
Yeah, at the moment, it is going to be Grubs going over against a 6 Grubs onto a Xin Zhao. I could build a Hull Breaker. Is that an item we might... I'm literally playing, like, bingo in the background here, and my middle tile is Xin Zhao build something weird, so I can take that one off. But I have a Hull Breaker, and I have some other weird items I'm not going to talk about yet, but I just have a strange feeling we're going to see Rift Maker Xin Zhao somehow.
I mean, he's got AP scalings. He does like to heal.
On everything.
Yeah, somehow Xin still has AP scalings on everything. As with Sourcewalker here, it seems like the members of OMG are just going to try and walk this turret down. Toad uses that ultimate defensively, as the first turret actually ends up going to HOB over on the top side, as we were paying attention down here. Toad, though, getting engaged on the Glacial Fissure, everything burned. Drew Barrymore will be able to pick up the kill. Rover survives on the top side, but losing that first turret, a big deal, as now the next objective to go over should it just be the decider? As I think, no, actually, HOB already have 3. That should be triumphant boots for them as soon as we see a pair of boots in inventory. It's Cool Jace looking to trade onto Epitome, manages to find that kill. Sourcewalker will trade it back, but he's going to die. Those turret shots ramp up fast. Shutdowns traded back and forth, but a messy exchange in the mid lane as now Divine and Rover are trading away, but Rover, I don't know if you win this one, even with the 2, even with the 3, it's gonna get a little close as Divine's going in, but there's that unstoppable force. Divine flashes away, but Barrymore flashes in response, picks up the shutdown gold. Raven pops the World Ender, wants to find some damage, gets it onto Drew Barrymore, has to flash over the wall. A nice tag stun there from Panda, gets that slow. Looking to stagger the passive, but Drew Barrymore, you can't walk up on your own. You can't walk up isolated against Aatrox. Sir Raven is just going to shut him down.
There's no more Imperial Dragons after that one. We will see Smolder fall as, yeah, maybe a little bit too aggressive there. Everyone kind of got split after that escape over the wall. But yeah, decent work coming through from him to set up the fight. And once again, Divine getting into the jungle, but not respecting enough on the other side of things. Dog has just knocked on my door. Very, very sorry about that. Hey,
Revnon is looking to pick up Epitome here. They've got Toad nearby. Panda is going to spot this one out, so everyone will manage to walk away from that one. But it's been a much scrappier game, I feel, even from the early stages. It has just been fight, fight, fight in this game.
I think my dog was feeling very alone upstairs. Or maybe he heard that there was a Jin Zhao building Titan. Yeah. Stay away from that, don't we, buddy?
Oh, Glacial Fissure. Toad getting engaged on a nice little stun away from himself. Will manage to lock himself out of that one. Raven trading versus Source Walker, but that passive is stacked up. LL Cool J is here, though, providing a little bit of support, but Sir Raven still taking a ton of damage. Gets that Q3 out of Source Walker, takes a ton of damage, but now Rover engaging onto the back line. Toad and Revnon wanted to find Drew Barrymore, but they end up getting picked up themselves. Drew Barrymore finds Toad, but Revnon is still alive. This is doing so much damage, and Cool Jace with a slide into the back line picks up a triple kill, and HOB stay on top.
Told you, watch the Azir. He's just standing there waiting. Emperor waits till the last moment to just step out and go, the subjects have done it for me. Picks up an easy 2 kills, slides the last one in, gets everything they need, and as you said, a 1-item spike for Azir is very strong at these stages of the game, and HOB, with their weird style of not picking ADCs, it seems to be working for them.
I mean, you continuously complain on this broadcast about how weak AD carries are and how awful it is, and I feel like HOB is just proving your point here. Is this going to be your new favorite team if they just continue not picking AD carries? I mean, they're proving you right. Maybe if Riot sees this, they'll buff AD carries. Who knows?
No, they won't. They'll go, we'll just delete all those characters. Don't worry about it. And then, yeah, it'll just be a sad day. I'll be stuck playing very top for the rest of my life. No, look, ADCs are weak, and I know everyone that ever hears an ADC say that go, no, they're not. ADCs are broken. Yeah, it's 6 items. Like every other champion is broken at 6 items, but we need someone to hold our hand constantly just to get.
Yeah, that's what they made my role for.
Yeah, that's why support is a thing, and instead we're getting Pyke.
I mean, Pyke can help. He gives you a lot of gold if you get kills with him.
He gets the kills, or we could just not pick Pyke. Nautilus, stun it, and I get the kill. But
don't you dare talk trash about Pyke. That's my boy right there.
Okay, it can be your boy, but it was a terrible design decision. Same as Vladimir.
Vladimir was designed a lot earlier. I can give them leeway.
Previous wounds was never needed until Vladimir appeared. Also, the fact that Bard is a thing.
Soraka existed. Previous wounds was always necessary.
It wasn't as necessary as it was for Vladimir's appearance. I think that really helped spike up the numbers from what was originally 10% to immediately 35%.
I think it's also because Will of the Ancients existed at that time, if you remember that item.
Oh, I do. Don't worry. But we're moving off topic here. We got to get back into this one, as the gold lead is definitely picking up now for HOB. They've definitely got a lot more kills, but there is still that underlying threat of scaling. Smolder exists. Smolder is there, and the more time afforded to that Smolder, the bigger a chance OMG have of breaking back into this game and ripping it apart. Now with their mid laner back as well, we're going to see possibly Epitome being able to
ruinous again.
It is ruinous again. They open up some time here to get something, and that is a trap.
Hang on. That's not Smolder. There he is.
There we go.
196 stacks for Drew Barrymore on the Smolder. So approaching that 225 pretty fast. It's just going to be a matter of how quickly can they get him there. And Smolder at 225 is not an insta-win anymore. You still have to work for it. You still got to play around your dragon. So it's going to be a matter of, can OMG get him there, which they should, and how much can they support him once he's there?
And this is where Jin Zhao comes in as well. That ult stops the procs from hitting the Jin Zhao, which means that middle of the fight is controlled by the Jin Zhao, and it buys more time in those fights. So stacks are available, but so is the
Speaking of
fight.
time, Panda getting engaged on is playing the Braum though, so very difficult to shut down fully. It's under a quarter HP, but that life form disintegration ray from Epitome makes life difficult for the members of HOB. A little bit of extra poke landing. Cool Chase, you see over the walls. Revnon just wants to find the engage, flashing forward onto Panda. Toad gets the hook, but it's just onto the Krug. Mom comes through. It's so much damage now. The health bars are so low. Source Walker will find Toad. There's one, there's two. A shutdown will go over to Drew Barrymore. Source Walker over the wall. Finds LL Cool Chase using the ulti defensively, but it's more gold to the baby dragon. More kills for Drew Barrymore, as he might have just made the same mistake twice. Walking up into the Aatrox is not the play. Divine is going to shut him down. Panda will survive with the sliver of HP, but Divine now finds two. Teleport in from Epitome, who had to recall off the back half of that fight. It's going to end up being an OG win, but sloppy at the very least, as Sir Raven will find Panda on the back line. He doesn't want to go down yet. This Aatrox is just too damn tanky. Epitome, he's going to try and land some poke on Den Divine, but just can't make it happen. HOB continue to show again and again their micro is just better, as Raven's not done yet. Epitome ults over the wall to try and find it, but Raven waiting, maybe a little bit too aggressively. Rover's going to shut him down. A messy exchange that OMG will barely take a lead on.
No, don't do it, Toad. Don't do it. Don't do it. Oh my
no.
god.
Oh no, Epitome, no! Epitome, no! He was window shopping. For sure he was window shopping.
I can just see the general chat after this game between these two teams just screaming how disrespectful each team is to each other. Does no one know where to recall anymore? Just step back.
No.
There is absolutely no issue with taking an extra 3 seconds to not die and waste 30. But team fighting wise, both teams are just at each other's throat constantly. No team wants to give ground, and these fights are turned by a single individual constantly. Like the Aatrox turning it, Drew Barrymore turning it, all these different things. So many plays being made, and it's almost spaghetti coding how to cast this. How do we explain this in terms of winning?
It's a game of inches. It's a game of centimeters. It truly is a matter of, hey, do you have the better hands in these fights? It's what these teams are playing for. As Reteron's going to be popped in mid lane. Panda using that Glacial Fissure defensively, but stuck on his lonesome, so not able to defend that turret. But the Ruinous Otacon will go over to OMG, so they'll get that extra buff. But how much of your base are you willing to lose to get said buff, as turrets are just continuously dropping here? HOB continue their game plan. They're gonna SM Orc, they're gonna push into the base, and they're gonna just take everything.
They are going to take an Akatan buff to buff their one single Hextech Drake, lose Drake, 2 towers, close to nearly losing an inhib. That trade is not good.
That is, to quote our controversial president, one of the worst trade deals maybe ever signed.
Was this only done this week or the week before?
That
on.
quote is old, but you know, it could have been any of them.
Moving on from politics and such, it's not a good trade at the moment. The longer this game goes, if they somehow get an Elder,
if they can get a Baron, if they can pick up even like an individual Infernal Dragon, this Smolder is going to become so strong. But also, I have to talk about it. Smolder got buffed recently in a patch where he was able to get extra damage off of crit damage scaling off of his Q. It's the only buffs that he's had in quite some time. So Smolder is buffed if you build Infinity Edge, and only if you build Infinity Edge. If you don't, this champion is just as bad as he has been for the past like 5-6 months. He's really not good right now.
I disagree with that. I think Smolder's in a great place. We love Smolder.
He doesn't have his Infinity Edge, so he is at a bad spot.
Doesn't matter. Love is love.
I mean, you know what? Fair enough. Love is love. You're so right, bestie.
Exactly. Like you just gotta let it be sometimes. Let it be. It's 6, 4, and 3, and to be honest, compared to some of the Smolders that I get, I would love this one. Look, time is still in their favor. Their base is slightly cracked. It's got some chips, but right now it's gonna be a pop of the dragon.
Oh, Revnon pops that ulti. Yeah, they want Drew Barrymore, but it's just Revnon back here so far. His teleports in from LL Cool J's, but not in the best spot, so forced away. Mom doesn't manage to find a ton of value. Gets Drew Barrymore back up to full HP. Glacial Fissure from Panda. It just feels a bit disconnected from both teams. fiending for an engage, looking for a fight. As they're going to go to engage, they want to find that unstoppable force on LL Cool J, so they will finally knock him down. Drew Barrymore is online on the dragon, takes down Sir Raven, and now Toad is the one on the run. The stun lands, and they should just be able to donate that one over. Source Walker finds it, and OMG take a clean 3-0.
Yeah, that just felt like no one wanted to make a call there on the timings, and it just felt like everyone went on their own. Little bit egregious there from HOB, and it just buys a free objective over to that Akatan-based team, and this is something I just said. It's not good to take Akatan when you have nothing, but if you do manage to get something, it will heavily influence it. But base is still getting cracked on the other side. Rover shouldn't be able to stop this 2-bruiser push onto these towers and inhibs, but the recalls are fast. They will get it in time. Not the worst trade they could have had.
Yeah, they'll end up getting something out of it at the very least, as Rover's going to start chasing them down, but I don't think the Malphite on his own should be able to chase this down. He's got ulti up soon-ish. He's just going to keep slowing down Revenon as the rest of the team is coming. He's going to pop into that Grand Challenge. Not the Grand Challenge, that's a different ulti. He's going to pop that Crescent Guard, and yeah, eventually he'll get chased down. Drew Barrymore finds that, and that's another staggered death timer. There's no objectives up, so it's not going to matter too much, but it's just the cleanness that we saw from HOB in game 1. It feels like it's really not here for game number 2.
Yeah, they're missing some of that Mr. Muscle cleanliness. They don't have that strength that we see from what we saw in the Revenant last game with that Mordekaiser. They're missing that big, beefy AP damage, while Azir does take time to get online, and it's very single target.
He's 3 items.
He does, but he's not in the fights at the right time. He's getting kind of chunked out by Malphite ult and then into a Valkaz ult. They know who to focus here, and they know how to peel for Drew as well on the other side. So much time being afforded for Smolder to free fire, and not a lot of time being afforded for Azir. But in terms of split pushing, they're still applying pressure on the top side. Rover's not here, so LL Cool J's, this might be your timing.
Yeah, they are going to end up picking up the inhibitor turret, not the inhibitor itself, as Rover and Sir Raven continue to trade, but I think Rover's just winning this over time. Raven, even with the Black Cleaver, just can't get through the meaty health bar that is a Malphite. This is why this champion is so good. You don't have to build full AP. You can still just 1v1 people who has full tank.
Yes, we do see with the Baron available, they are picking up gold from as many towers as possible. There still is that problem of the inhibitor being open in mid and taken in the bot side, so minions will continue to pour in. That soul is also about to spawn, 20 seconds or so now till we see that appear. Infernal soul would be massive for HOB if they can get it.
Yeah,
also,
they are starting to
worry that they don't have that bot in yet. They don't have that wave fully pushed, and maybe that's better because Rover's gonna get hit.
He's gonna get hit, but he's full tank Malphite. Like, he has flash and he has ulti. He's gonna use both of them to escape. So yeah, they burn a couple of cooldowns, but now it's gonna allow OMG to get pressure on this dragon pit and get control of the river, as HOB now scrambling back to position. But what do you have left in the tank? They didn't burn any huge summoners or any cooldowns on trying to pick Rover, as he's gonna look to get caught again. It's still very tanky on the Malphite, so I don't think they can even burst him, even if they wanted to. Take an extra punch to the back, but he's still above half HP and still has that magic damage shield. He's still feeling fairly comfortable as Revenon trying to play bodyguard, keep that defensive ward alive. Engage, burn from Toad. He's looking for Panda, but that's not exactly the target you want, as Drew Barrymore's gonna find that kill. Now into the backline, they're looking for Source Walker, but that's not the target they want. Drew Barrymore still free firing in the fight. This Smolder is just gonna start going insane. He's got a double kill already. LL Cool J's trying to trade with him, but the Seeker's arm guard keeps Barrymore alive. A triple kill for the baby dragon, as teleport in from Sir Raven is just gonna bait the TP from Rover and from Epitome. He won't manage to find much value.
Are they going to try and end this game right here, right now? There's no way. We're not going to get a repeat of last game where the Drake just stays alive and no one goes for it.
I mean, surely they take that turn and just walk the dragon. Yeah, they just walk the dragon.
Cyanide was getting closer and closer. No one wants to take Drakes. Drakes are just unwanted right now, as we will finally see again taking the...
Well, yeah, Smolder's on the rift. He doesn't want to kill a distant relative. That would feel really bad.
They're not an Imperial Dragon.
Yeah, like I said, distant relative.
An elemental one, it's not Imperial. Smolder does not care.
I'm sure they've got some common ancestor way back in the day.
Yeah, so do English and Irish people. We still hate each other.
That's a very different circumstance. I don't think
Americans and English people hate each other.
I don't think the Imperial Dragons ever did a famine on the Elemental Dragons.
I don't know, they're kind of killing everything around the dragon right now, aren't they? You ever seen Shyvana Jungle?
No, maybe. You know what?
Taking
You
all
got me
the
there.
Food, invading Summoner's Rift, taking all the food away from the Elemental Dragons. Checkmate.
Maybe Shyvana really is the problem after all, but we are starting to see near full builds come through. Drew Barrymore now has the completed Zhonya's, so that Zhonya's effect available for themselves again. They've got a Knight's Vow on them as well. With this grass stacked up, this Smolder has about 3,000 HP, maybe a little bit more. He's so beefy, it's really hard to actually burst through this carry target, and this is the advantage of Grasp and Shojin. And yeah, it's not the buff to damage from Infinity Edge, but you're just tanky. You just don't go down very quickly.
And the extra time afforded with Braum Shield, Malphite going in, Source Walker running at them, and Epitome just having a lot of fun. Throwing ults in, buying more time. Everything they need is there, and the split push style won't work for them if they can't control those side lanes, which seems to be the biggest issue right now, because Sir Raven can't really deal with the Malphite. LL Cool J could possibly deal with Vel'Koz, but has to be in those fights. Everything seems disjointed right now for what HOB want to do and what they're able to do.
Yeah, I feel like disjointed really is the key word of this game, as opposed to what really felt like two top teams being so close in terms of macro, but the micro really being a deciding factor in game number 1. And even for HOB's credit, they had a better macro than OMG in game number 1. Game number 2 feels a lot more scrappy. Feels a lot more like, we kind of burned all the brain cells in game number 1, and now we're just going to start taking fights in game number 2 and just see who comes out on top.
Yeah, one more big team fight. I think most of it will come down to whether Sir Raven can get through one or two of these frontline targets and get onto the Smolder. That's the biggest question. We need to see that Smolder under pressure, and that Sonya being burned, maybe Panda going down, and that Knight's Vow not being available. Little things like that could shift the game very, very quickly. But as much as Smolder scaling, so is Jax, and we can't forget about Jax in the late game.
He's level 16. He's a very strong Jax. I do also want to point out, it's just so difficult to burst down Drew Barrymore in a game like this. And Sir Raven, without any sort of like Eclipse, there's no lethality shenanigans. This is true blue bruiser Aatrox. It's going to be so hard to actually knock down these backline carries who are relatively tanky. The only true backliner I feel in this game is just LL Cool J, who I think is like honestly the only squishy character on this Rift.
Yeah, the only squishy character on the Rift is a hell of a word, but that
Wait, hang on. It's getting... Hang on, Sourcewalker's in the area, but Toad's just going to deny him from getting into the pit, and that's just a two-man Vanguard by HOB. They managed to knock down the objective, and Sir Raven finds the 1v2 in the side lane to pick up Epitome. OMG, they had the game in the bag, but now without Baron, now without Soul, now without their side laners, they may have just tossed the game.
They might have lost the game just off of this alone. Will they be able to hit that? Yes, they will. That's
Drew Barrymore. Yes, Sir Raven is going to find Rover. Drew Barrymore forced to hightail it out of there, and now 5 versus 3 to defend their base. OMG, you had an undefeated season. You had a game in your hands, but now with a 2-man Baron, it seems like HOB might mean to take the series off the back of an incredible comeback.
Yeah, if HOB have something about them that makes sense, but they still need to finish this game. It is not over yet. Smolder is still there.
There's that first Nexus turret. They're just looking for the objectives. Panda's tanking him at the front line, but he is going to go down. LL Cool J is free firing onto this Azir. Revnon tanking up as Sourcewalker tries to get in. He gets the stun, but he's already gone. Drew Barrymore, the last man standing, but Raven is just going to force him into Zanya's. HOB! It doesn't matter how far down they get early game. They're just going to win the series.
So many things I want to say, but I'll get in so much trouble.
Yeah, that was a game of all time. I mean, credit to HOB, the ability to go for that sneak Baron and say, hey, we have one chance to get back in this game. It's by taking Baron and looking to just end it. And they do. They had a better macro game, and they had better micro in a lot of the fights. Just... It's an incredible showing from the half-orc Barbarians.
This is what happens when you're in champ select and your top laner's like, let me last pick, and the rest of the team just goes silent and no one swaps. And then they pick the top laner and just play it bot lane and go, no, me bot. And this is what's happened. Somehow Revnon has snuck into this as a top lane main, went bot lane and said, I'm playing Mordekaiser, and everyone was just quiet and said, okay, and still won. And then it goes to game 2 and they're like, hey, that worked. You play anything in the jungle we could play bot? Yeah, Jin Zhao. Then you have a team that is undefeated. They've won 17 clashes together and they're just playing a ranked flex together before they all go to bed, and they're going to bed pissed off. They're going to bed unhappy with themselves because they lost to Mordekaiser and Jin Zhao.
Yeah, this is a rough one to come back from, I feel, for
Barry done
OMG.
exceptionally well in both games. Like, Charlie's Angel was activated.
This was a great series to watch, and I feel for OMG fans, I
feel stressed.
I think it was a great series to watch because it showed that the meta picks are not always the way to go. If you can pilot picks like this Xin Zhao, like that Mordekaiser, or even like Aatrox for Sir Raven, who I think was a pivotal pick for Half-Orc Barbarians in this game, was a massive threat on the sideline, even though we kept talking about, oh, with the Malphite, it's so hard for him to navigate. If he just kills the Vel'Koz, they just win the game.
Sorry, I'm holding Hedwig because I'm fully expecting a Hogwarts letter to a pick, because this was just magic and crazy and unnecessary stuff that just happened, but I'm never going to Hogwarts.
You're a little old for Hogwarts at this point, but I think for Half-Orc Barbarians, this is a massive confidence booster of a series. You've won versus a team that was undefeated, not only in series score, but in game score. And you won it playing your own style. You did not cave to any sort of meta picks. You weren't looking for, oh, we're going to play Skarner first pick and then go Callista Renata to try and just win that bottom lane domination. You said, hey, we're going to pick Mordekaiser bottom lane with Exhaust. What do you have against it? And OMG just didn't have anything today. They didn't have it.
They did. In game 2, they had everything they needed. And then there was a 2-man Baron no one could get to because Nautilus stood there menacingly. And then on the other side, they lost 2v1. Aatrox got to the Vel'Koz against Malphite Vel'Koz as an Aatrox. And somehow Sir Raven got a kill, which that moment right there ended the game.
Realistically, moments like that, they should not have happened. But Half-Orc Barbarians had the macro calls and the micro plays to make it work. And this is now a team I think I'm much more afraid of seeing in the playoffs, of like, what are they going to pull out in a best of 5? If this is what we're seeing in a Fearless best of 3, like, what else do they have in the pocket for Revnon? What else do they have for Divine with the Nocturne that I feel like we haven't seen in a very long time? Divine is kind of a meta pick, but played it very well. Wait a minute. I feel like I haven't seen Nocturne. Yeah, because they didn't want Senna plus a melee combo in the bottom lane. A lot of the top lane bans that we saw with the like Cho'Gath, with the set, those were Revnon focused bans. And now we have learned.
Okay, they also hovered Senna in the second one. So yes, so Revnon and Toad are just the worst humans. They play bot lane as a duo. They're the worst humans. These are the people that I'm playing solo queue. I'm on like an 8-game win streak, having a really good time, and I
then
see
you play Senna Cho'Gath,
and I literally go into champ select, type /FF, and I turn on Bleach. And I just autopilot the game because I know it's done, and there's no way I'm winning it because they will just outscale me no matter what I do.
Yeah, a rough series, I feel, for OMG, but a very fantastic one from Half-Orc Barbarians. I feel like they definitely played
my favorite team now. I hate it. I hate it so much.
They played, I think, definitely above the level that we, or probably anybody watching, expected, except for their fans. And those fans have been proven loyal today. A 2-0 victory for Half-Orc Barbarians. They retain not sole possession in terms of series score, but sole possession in terms of the head-to-head of Group C's first place marker. And if they end up tied at the end of the season, Half-Orc Barbarians will take first place.
Look at him. He hates them. He hates them. We'll be back, won't we? Yeah, we will.
We will be back next week for more Vanquisher action. Thank you all so much for joining us. I've been What's Your Birdie. That's been Sader. Like I said earlier, our producer, Golden, and our observer, Loki, making sure things run as smoothly as possible on the back end. We truly appreciate you all being here. And like I said, we'll see you back next week with more Vanquisher. Have a good night.